Whew. Quite the weather we're having. Hot. You know, out of all the stories I shared, I wonder which one made you the most uncomfortable. I mean, we have stories of people turning into snails before being cannibalized. Women drilling into people for that sweet blood. One guy sliding down a razor-sharp pole. Stick bugs being a little too friendly with the ladies. We even had one guy who didn't seem to make it to the other side. He kinda got stuck in a bad situation after his wife chopped him up into fine little pieces. That one's my favorite. For today's story, I think we're gonna see something different. Something that should make us cringe with discomfort when enjoying that hot summer sun and see what happens when death decides to play sadist. Introduction: Earl Diggs, who just robbed a bank and now spending his summer fun going 130 miles per hour on a long stretch of highway through some desert, being chased down by some enthusiastic state trooper on a motorcycle who's just itching to bring in Diggs, alive or dead. Our boy Diggs had not only stolen about $30,000 in cash, but killed a guard with a knife when he tried stopping Diggs. Oh yes, Diggs is on a mission. Beyond the desert, my friends, awaits the promised land. A paradise with easy living, fine women, fancy clothing and all. The only problem is this state trooper who's been on his tail for a good 20 minutes now. Seeing how Diggs already wiped off one miserable cop from this world, this state trooper shouldn't be too hard for Diggs to take care of. And keeping his eye on the trooper, waiting for the right moment. That was when Diggs slammed on his brakes, but instead of hearing the sounds of metal against metal, flesh being splattered against his car, Diggs' car ended up swerving instead, causing the vehicle to spin over and over, the steering wheel crushing against his chest. His body smacked against the roof before Diggs felt his head smashing through the glass, before everything went black. That was all Diggs could remember when slowly regaining consciousness, being tossed around inside the car. Not sure if he was thrown out, or the state trooper pulled his body from the wrecked car. Finding himself laying right next to the bike, feeling a tug on his right arm, the iron metal on his wrist. He was handcuffed to the state trooper. Why the hell was he handcuffed to the state trooper? Took a few minutes for Diggs to make out what the trooper was saying into the mic. Obviously, the trooper was calling for reinforcements. Thinking that Diggs was still out cold, he did hear that all the money had burned in the crash, also mentioning something about a master cuff key, and how he managed to save Diggs before the car caught on fire, which was a bad mistake. And when Diggs found the opportunity, that was when he attacked the state trooper, overpowered him, his hands wrapped tightly around the trooper's neck. All this could have been avoided if he hadn't gotten his way. Another cop that could have went home to his wife and kids if he were to just leave it alone. But instead, this state trooper had to play hero, and now here he is, his ignorant life fading away. After the trooper was taken care of, Diggs had about guessing 16 to 20 minutes to get out of the area before reinforcements came. Should give him plenty of time to make it past the rocks and make a clean getaway. Except, it's not going to be that easy for Diggs. After wasting 5 minutes already, frantically looking for the key to the handcuffs, that was when he remembered the state trooper asking for the master cuff key. With time running out and left with no other choice, obviously using a motorcycle wasn't an option, seeing how Diggs was handcuffed to a dead body. Diggs picked up the dead trooper and began running into the Badlands. Because of the body weighing him down, Diggs' legs began to feel like rubber. His throat felt like it was wrapped by a steel band. His heart feeling like it wanted to pound out of his chest. His body soaked with perspiration because of the blazing heat. Regardless of Diggs' efforts, it wasn't enough to get a lead. He had to get rid of this dead body. And when hearing the sounds of tires screeching on the road, this was it. The state troopers are now here. But when looking over a rock, Diggs was relieved when realizing that it wasn't the state troopers. It was a couple of cars that stopped to investigate the crash. The break that Diggs needed to catch his breath and make a clean getaway. Deep inside the real rock country of America, there's no way the troopers will be able to find Diggs this far in the desert. Not even the bloodhounds will be able to catch his scent. Ladies and gentlemen, Earl Diggs had just escaped the hands of justice. But I don't know. I wouldn't consider Diggs lucky. Because you see, he kind of got himself in a situation here. His attempt to enter the paradise with $30,000 resulted with all the money lost in the fire, finding himself handcuffed to a state trooper that's still on his tail. And there's nothing around the area to cut off the dead trooper's hand. When the trooper pulled Diggs from the fire, he must have searched Diggs' pockets and removed the knife. There's no way Diggs is going to go back looking for it. The following morning, our lucky boy realized that he was in a situation far worse than some dingy prison, being passed around for some smokes. It was already 108 degrees. The heat was taking a heavy toll on Diggs' body, his eyes stinging because of the thick drops of sweat filling his eyes, then touching his lips, that strong, salty taste hitting his tongue, torturing Diggs with this painful craving for water. My God, he's never had a craving for water like this. The internal pain was so bad that he would even spend $30,000 for a glass of ice-cold water, or something to free himself from this goddamn body. Already the trooper began reaching rigor mortis. It won't be long until the body starts reeking with death. But hope came in the form of a shiny glimmer that struck the corner of Diggs' eyes, a piece of metal on the trooper's body. Yes, the state trooper's badge. With that, our lucky boy can cut himself free. But when Diggs began cutting into the state trooper's arm, a badge slicing into the white flesh, showing the red and slimy muscles and tendons. It was something that made Diggs feel sick, squeamish, a ruthless cop killer that can't stand a little blood. And because of that was why Diggs accidentally dropped the badge and lost his only chance to free himself from the body when the badge fell into a crevice. It must have been over 110 degrees. Because of the heat and being handcuffed to a dead carcass, reeking with the foul stench of death, riddled with flies laying their eggs inside the body, maggots eating away the rotting flesh, Diggs lost his ability to stay focused, running, falling, and then getting back up to run again before falling on his face. Going in circles, the man was disorientated. Diggs' wrist was now bleeding, throbbing with stinging pain because of the handcuffs tearing open his flesh, exposing the muscles and tendons. Diggs' lips were now dry. There were even no tears when Diggs would have moments where he wanted to weep. Just a pitiful display of a man groaning and grunting. Everything was spinning. It was no longer about the promised land. It was every shred of Diggs' body trying to find any means of survival to free himself from this unbearable torment. Then there came the shadows that brought the small moments of relief from the violent rays of the sun. Carrion vultures. A sign of death. A horror that began hovering around Diggs and the carcass. Every now and then Diggs could hear them singing their deathly chorus. Carrion vultures, stalking their next meal. When nightfall came, resting his body from the heat, the fatigue and pain because of how he's now going with 2 days without a drop of water, Diggs was now at the point where taking an advantage of finding rest would result with him waking up to a swarm of carrion vultures feasting on the trooper's corpse. Yes, my friends, death was standing over Diggs. That's the horror of these birds, how they can be patient and greedy, just waiting for the right moment to scavenge as much tasty rotting flesh as they can, because they know when you're going to die. They can even wait for days, waiting for you to fall. This is why Diggs refuses to sleep. He might wake up to a swarm of carrion vultures tearing into his flesh. Diggs is now walking into day 3, still clinging onto this foolish idea that his efforts for survival will come in the form of a cabin, a miner's cave, anything that would give him that small hope of survival. But day 3, my friends, had only brought more heat, more pain, and a terrible stench from a partially eaten carcass that was handcuffed to him. When nightfall came, death was now drawing closer. Every shred of hope that Diggs had within him was now gone. There was nothing left in Diggs, just a shell of his former self stumbling in the middle of nowhere America. The following morning, Diggs accepted the reality of his situation. He can't find his way out of this desert. He can't find any water. He can't find a way to free himself from this rotting carcass. Fact is, Earl Diggs is going to die. So the question on Diggs' mind, how is he going to kill himself in this desert? Day 4. Diggs gave up and decided to lay on the ground, screaming and begging for the vultures to come down and set him free, begging for death to grant him that comforting touch, to relieve him from this unbearable nightmare and carry him into the promised land. And after hours of baking in the sun, Diggs decided to play dead, to lay still in hopes of convincing the carrion vultures above that he was now a carcass. Because of the heat, the small moments of shade from the vultures circling his body, Diggs kept going in and out of consciousness. When hearing the sounds of wings fluttering, Diggs kept his eyes closed, hoping to not scare away the vultures. But there was something different. The pain was now different. It's like he couldn't feel anything other than a few jerks and tugs on his lower body. And when opening his eyes, Diggs could see the swarm of vultures tearing into the trooper's rotting carcass. But I guess death didn't want Diggs to miss out on the joyful experience of a carrion death, having the opportunity to wake up to an unremitting horror when seeing the vultures swarming his body. Oh yes, Diggs didn't feel any nausea, no revulsion, no pain. He was still alive, except he could not move, nor could he scream. Can you imagine? Your final moments in this cold, cruel, unforgiving world is watching yourself being eaten alive underneath the unforgiving sun. Funny how the vulture didn't eat out both eyes. Didn't want Diggs to miss out on the horror show. Death standing over your shoulder, looking down on you like a sadist before taking your miserable soul to the other side. Now, I don't know when Diggs finally passed on. For me, I think he made it till the evening. Ah, what the hell. Seeing how Diggs is so lucky, I'm gonna say he made it all the way till the next morning. But I'll leave that to your twisted imagination. For my supporters, these individuals who support my madness on YouTube, I would like to take the time to thank them and express my gratitude in helping me with this summer special and the other stories I introduce on here. And as for my friends, yes, my friends, not followers, because following me, you just might end up following me right into the desert and enjoying one of my twisted stories as we both experience the joys of a carrion death. Stay cool, my friends. Stay safe. And be sure to drink lots of water. Until next time, my friends, thank you for enjoying the show, The Horror Show.